So welcome back, drifters. Today we're back in the garage working on the 67 Mustang. Now today what we're going to be doing is working on these floor supports. I already did the other side, but today we're going to be doing the passenger side. And I guess I got a lot of good feedback from you guys, so I do appreciate that. You guys evidently want to see this side too, so I'm going to film it. I'm going to try to speed it up a little bit though, try to kind of just highlight what I can. And if we run into any issues, I'll show you guys what we find. But yeah, all I got to do is start tearing this thing apart, so let's get to it.
So my spot weld cutter's been getting a little bit dull, so today I decided, you know what, I'm just going to whip out the old angle grinder. That thing works really well and it grinds it down just as good. It's just a little bit more messy to use, but you know what, it gets the job done. After I got done grinding everything down, I whipped out the old air hammer, which, let me tell you, it's an amazing tool for removing these pieces of sheet metal, and I just kind of went to town. That wasn't until I started breaking out the cutoff wheel, and I ran into some pretty big issues. I mean, take a look at this.
So this is something to be learned here. Can't hear shit. So I'm under here and I'm trying to cut this thing, and I had to change out my cutoff wheel. Now, I got a new brand of cutoff wheel because it's the only one they had available. But look at what this thing did. I can't tell if that's in focus or not. I sure hope it is. But this thing started fraying on the edges. It's ready to split and just break all up in my face. I hate trying to get cutoff wheels if they're the wrong brand, because I'm telling you, I've had this happen on multiple ones. I even paid extra because I was assuming that these were going to be better. But my God, that is just horrible. If this thing were to break into my face or maybe go into my leg or something, like that's dangerous. So, yeah, I tell you, sometimes this stuff is way harder than it looks. I'll tell you that much.
So luckily, I still had a good amount of meat left on my old cutoff wheel. I just cut off the remaining pieces and then grind down the metal that was left on the cross member and just kind of worked it off with an air hammer. It's a little bit of a struggle, but it's doable.
Okay, so the good news is we got that floor support out. It was a big pain in the ass, let me tell you. This stuff is way harder than it looks in terms of just effort. Like, the task is easy. It's just, it's time consuming. You have to really pay attention to what you're doing. You have to be careful because it's very dangerous because you're using cutoff wheels and stuff like that, especially when you buy crappy blades. Because let me show you what happened with the ones when I was under there. I didn't really get a good shot while I was down there. Let me show you what happened. So this is a blue fire cutoff wheel, and this thing, after one cut, started splitting right apart. I mean, it is just tore up. It should never do this on just one cut. Like, unless if the cut's like maybe being pulled one way or another, maybe you're cutting at a weird angle or something. But like, I have cut this stuff many times, and this only ever happens with crappy cutoff wheels. Because let me show you what happens when I use the ones I normally use. So that's the cut right there that I did with that cutoff wheel. I did the exact same cut with this one. This is a DeWalt. This is the ones I normally buy. And you can see that the edges of this one are nice and smooth. There's no fraying. Sure, the disc is a lot smaller, but that's because I've used this thing so much. This is what it should look like when you're using it. So literally, I used this exact cutoff wheel just after the other one started fraying on me on the exact same cut. So if you ask me, the only problem here is this cutoff wheel. I mean, this is insane. This is just, I mean, this is a safety problem. Come on, guys. So that's what I get for buying cheap cutoff wheels. Always pay for better cutoff wheels. So I've used DeWalt in the past and haven't had any issues, so I'm going to just stick with them. You know, maybe you got a brand that works for you, but today's a surefire sign that I'm sticking with DeWalt because I literally did the same cut and got different results. So anyway, the metal underneath the floor support that we just cut away it's okay, but it definitely needs some help. So luckily this side over here actually looks pretty decent. There is a decent amount of pitting here. My air hammer got a little bit happy and pushed that in a little too far. But we're pretty much just gonna do what we did over on that side over there, over here. You know what's crazy is the amount of rust and dirt that comes out of these things. I mean, geez, that is something else. So basically, I have two options here. I have one, I can go to the store, get new cutoff wheels. Or B, I can just hope that this is enough because it's almost 6 o'clock, so I've got like about another hour before it gets to be too late to be doing this. And I'd really like to get this piece cut off so I can say that I did something really good today. And then I'll just finish it in the morning. So, I think I'm just gonna YOLO it. Let's do it. Wouldn't you know it, I had just enough. Well, I would call that a solid win for today. Well, I would say that's good progress for day one, so let's move on to day 2, shall we? All right, day 2. So what I'm doing now is I'm gonna be cutting up this chunk of metal. That way we can fit it on the lower frame rail where we cut out yesterday, which is just like a couple seconds ago for you guys. And we're gonna get that thing fitted just like we did on the driver's side. And then after that, I'm gonna get the floor support and then get that thing welded on there. We'll see if I can get it done today. I don't know because I got kind of a late start, but hey, let's get to it. So guys, I just wanted to show you that this is a brand new disc, same brand, and I ran into the same problem. This thing just starts splitting. So there's definitely something wrong with these discs. It's not, I'm not using these discs anymore, screw that.
So I gotta tell you, one of the most tricky parts about doing this whole project and working on this metal and stuff is all the prep work. A lot of it you're not even gonna see because I spent so much time just grinding and fitting and test fitting and grinding that it's amazing the amount of time it takes to make sure it's done right. But this is such an important part of it.
Okay, so after a lot of grinding, I think I finally have this thing fitting right. And what I'm doing is I'm using a laser level to kind of make sure everything's where it should be. Because the hard part's making sure that the passenger side is going to match the driver's side. I don't want them to be off. I don't want there to be a weird angle, anything like that. But let me show you what I got. Alright, so I got this laser going to right over here. You can see that it's nice and even. And then I've basically also got it shooting to the bottom of the frame over there. So it's set up nice and even. I'm pretty sure this is good. I got it held up with magnets. So now I just got to wipe it down, throw on a couple tacks, and then we'll see if we can fit the floor support on there. Alright, so I got this thing tacked on here. I know it's not perfect, but for right now this is just to do some measurements. So far it's looking pretty good though. So I got the laser level set at the bottom of the frame rail over there, and you can see that even after this welding, it's still dead on. So looks like we're doing pretty good. So now what I need to do is test a few things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the floor support. We're going to put it on there and just see how it's fitting. I know I need to knock back part of that cross member just to make sure we have room because it sits a little bit lower because of the thicker metal. But yeah, I'm just going to do that, do some more test fitting, and then once I'm sure that it's good, we'll finish welding up that frame rail, and then tomorrow, since it is super late right now, we'll start working on putting the floor support in. So I'm trying to wrap this all up in one video, that way we can move on to the next thing whenever I do that. So this is kind of going to be like a weekend review. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. So right now I've got it in here just kind of mocked up. It's just set there. So what you'll see is that little flap right there is what's pushing down, and it's actually pulling this away from that piece. You can see that it's hitting the top part and it's making it stretch downward. So here's a quick example. When I push this down, it's pushing that out. You can kind of see the flex. See that? That's not what we want. So yeah, so I definitely need to get rid of that little flap at the bottom. So yeah, I just gotta bend this little sucker out of the way and we should be good to go. So I think I'm gonna have to continue this thing tomorrow. So I'm gonna undo this and do all this tomorrow and we'll finish those welds. I think we're good though. Alright, day, I have no clue what it is, but let's go get this thing test fitted. Okay, so I got this thing set in place. I leveled it just to check to make sure it was pretty close, and it's looking really good. The measurements even from side to side is both good. We're both at like 29 and like 7/8 or something like that, so it's very close to where we were originally. So I think that we're good to weld in that lower part of the frame rail, but the weird thing is that cross member is still kind of far away, but I think that if I use the clamps to pull it tight, that it should fit on there properly. So I'm going to get some clamps and try to do that real quick and see if that changes the measurements at all. So you could see there that it's not quite sitting exactly flush on there, because I can't get it tight without using a whole bunch of clamps, and I'm going to have to weld it in there. But also the old welds I haven't ground down yet are kind of getting in the way on some of the sides. So we'll take care of that eventually, but it's pretty close. Hell, even the bubble in the middle looks good now. Alright, so I'm going to go fully weld that lower frame rail, and then we'll start trying to refit this thing on there after I grind that back. And we'll see just how tight it is. But I think we're good as far as lower frame rail goes.
I lost my best friend to 23. She left her body and hovered above me. I saw no shadow. I looked around, searched every building and home that I found. I saw no shadow, but felt a glow. The warmth inside me, it kept me afloat. It felt like heaven had found my bones and gave me comfort when I feel alone. Now you're gone, I'm alone. I guess it's time to get better.
Okay, so that side was definitely a lot harder than the other side. And I think it's because there's a little bit of rust on the inside of that frame rail. And I don't think I cleaned it well enough because I kept getting pores. So I had to grind the welds back, redo it. And like, it was just, eventually I started burning holes through the metal. It was a nightmare, but we got it done. It's on there. So I'm going to let this thing cool off. And then we're going to spray it with some weld through primer. And then we'll start working on the floor support. But I need to go get some coffee. Holy crap, that's exhausting. So I don't know about y'all, but it could be literally 100 degrees outside, and I will still drink a hot cup of coffee. Because really, it's the only thing I can really feel anymore. So good. So anyway, I let this thing cool off a little bit, get some of these fumes out of the garage because it's pretty rough. Now I'm going to go ahead and drill out the holes on the new lower floor support. And yeah, we're just going to kind of keep on cruising, see what we can get done.
The pain, I will go alone. If I fall, break my bones, I will scream even louder. 'Cause I'm not dying alone.
Okay, so I went through about 3 batteries to drill about 12 holes. It's the same problem I've been having. And for the last like 4 weeks, I've been looking for my dang power drill that's corded. Well, I finally found it, and I don't think you're gonna guess where it was. You see anything kind of funny? Yeah, it's been sitting up here the whole time, just hidden behind those boxes. So I guess now I can finally get this thing done. Only problem is it's getting a little late, so you already know the drill. I guess it's going to be Friday before I get this thing done. Alright, it's Friday. It's time to get back to work. Let's get this thing drilled out and then get this thing installed.
I lost my best friend to 23. She left her body in Harvard above me.
Okay, so we are definitely going into overtime on this one. It's officially Saturday, and I am still working on this project. So what I'm doing now is I've been doing all these measurements and laser leveling and just trying to get everything to where it matches up properly, and it has been a matter of like just centimeters. It's driving me nuts. But I'm working on it. We're getting closer and closer, and I think I'm ready to throw on a couple tacks, but I just hope that this thing is on there as straight as I can. I used laser levels, measuring tools out the ass, levels, and yeah, we're just gonna send it, so let's do it. I mean, I've literally used just about everything I can to try to get this thing even, and I'm pretty sure we're close.
I heard the heavens crying above me. They gained an angel, I lost a friend. I felt like dying again and again. I went through hell, stared at death, but I keep fighting with each living breath. I saw no way out from where I stood. Felt like the fire had burned me through. Now you're gone, I'm alone. I guess it's time to get better. Through the pain, I will go alone.
Okay, so you might be wondering what this Darth Vader thing is, and it's a respirator. I actually ordered one on Amazon, got it here overnight, because yesterday, all the welding I was doing, I was starting to have some problems with my breathing, because I got asthma, and it was really starting to mess me up. And all this time, I didn't know that you could get a respirator that literally fits underneath the mask. Yes, I know I'm stupid, but anyway. I finished welding up a lot of this floor support, but the problem that I ran into was the cross member. I was getting a big measurement on there, and I was like, oh no, I welded it wrong, it's too far out. But then I was like, okay, there's a couple things that could be a factor here. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so I got the tape measure lined up, and I came over here and measured, and I was getting like 30 3/8. And the measurement's technically supposed to be like 29.8 or like 30 inches, depending on which diagram you're using. And I was like, what is going on here? So I've got these clamps here trying to hold this thing tight together, and it is on there. I mean, it is tight as it can be right now, and it did pull this in just a little bit, but it's still off, and I couldn't figure out why. So that's when I broke out the caliper. So I forgot that this metal is actually a little bit thicker than what the OEM metal was. It's actually about, I think it's like 0.6 millimeters. So that 0.6 times 2 would be 1.2 millimeters of thickness added to the overall width. But even when you convert that to inches, that's still nowhere near the extra like 3/8 that I was getting on there. And then I thought to myself, well, let me go check what my original measurements were. If you'll notice right there, it's 30 3/8. So this is the exact reason why I took all those measurements and took all that time doing it. And I'm so glad that I did, because I would be completely losing my marbles right now if I didn't. Luckily, we know everything's good. We've got all the correct measurements, including the difference with those thicknesses, and it's good to go. So all I need to do is finish welding this thing up, grind all the welds back, and then, shoot, we should be good. So I fucked up. So the weld literally got too hot, and it dropped right onto my damn clamp, and my clamp is now stuck. Yay me. If it's not one thing, it's definitely another. So it looks like the Mustang's gonna have another part of my tools inside of it. So I got it out. I had to break the tool, but yeah, I might just grind that down a little bit if I can, and then we'll finish welding, and hopefully this time not drip the weld onto these clamps. Oh boy.
I need my best friend. Oh my God, don't do this.
Well, I guess my prediction of it taking about a week was pretty accurate, because it took me about 7 days to get this thing done. It looks really good, it fits good, all our measurements are solid, and that was a huge relief to have that thing said and done. Because this was honestly one of the hardest things I was going to have to do here, making sure that this frame rail was straight and everything like that. So it is solid, it's good to go, and now the last thing that I got to do is basically grind back those welds, but I'm going to do that off camera. I got to do that a different day, because this video is really late and I need to get it out. So that's what we're going to do. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, sure hit that like button, and I'll see y'all in the next one.